Okay, now we've made it to the end of this section of chapter 1, and we're going to go into the naming conventions. Let's get into it. All right, congratulations. We made it through the first part or the first chapter of learning Java here at Launch Code in this unit. And so we're going to start diving deeper into more lessons with the curriculum. But I want to congratulate you. Hopefully you got your whole system set up, ready to go. Again, if you're having any issues, don't hesitate to reach out so that we can assist you. So now let's get into the curriculum. 1.7, Java Naming Conventions. Java has some very straightforward naming conventions. These are universally used by Java programmers and differ in some cases from conventions commonly used in other languages. Again, these are conventions. Ignoring them will not prevent your code from running, as long as you are following Java's naming rules. All right, and I'm hoping that you took a chance to click on this. Let's click on it. Let's look at it. And so here we have the lexical structures, what this sent me to. Let's see what is the page. So this is the lexical structure. This chapter specifies the lexical structure of the Java programming language. And here's some good information. I highly recommend that you take the opportunity to go over some of this information. One of the things that is a challenge for a new beginner is because, especially in this type of course where it kind of moves fast and you can easily get overwhelmed and find yourself just trying to do just enough because so much information is being thrown at you. And depending on what your lifestyle is, you have a family, children, work, maybe working 2 jobs, trying to fit this in. Sometimes you don't have the time to put in that extra effort to learn what everything is doing. But I just want to let you know, this curriculum is high level. It's not exhaustive. You're going to have to use some of the other resources that we are introducing to you. So don't get so frustrated, because I know it's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to have anxiety over this. I'm talking to you from experience. I know how you feel, but you're going to have to put in the time. When I began to do that, when I started to look at the other resources and go deeper into what I was learning, I started unlocking the understanding, and it was all starting to make sense to me. The more you put in it, the more you're going to get out. So let's get back over to the curriculum. So Java identifier name rules are somewhat hard to parse. So a good rule of thumb is that you should use only letters, numbers, and the underscore character. And they should always start with a letter. Remember, just like if you're coming from JavaScript, the first cohort or the first unit, you always start with a letter. Now, you can start with an underscore, but you can't start with a number when you're naming your variables. So pay close attention to this. And it says the naming conventions are more like guidelines than rules and are what other Java coders expect to see when reading your code. Meaning we have to have a standard on how we work together. Because if everyone had their own conventions, that means I would have to understand what you were doing when you wrote this. What does this mean? It may have the results I'm looking for, but I'm not understanding how you wrote it. I may not be able to easily find where the information is coming from. But when we all have a standard, that means I'm able to understand what you wrote before I get deep into it. I can understand the name of the method that you wrote. I understand the class. You gave it a good descriptive name. So I understand, okay, this is a class. This is a method. This is a field, property. I understand it by the convention. So this is why we want you to follow the same conventions. That's why when you were in Unit 1, if you followed me in Unit 1, I will always tell you, don't call the assignment operator an equal sign. Call it an assignment operator because that's what it is in this particular case. And if you just keep seeing it as an equal sign, you're going to use it as an equal sign when you need to do a double equals or a strict equal, and you can't understand why your code is not working. Also, too, we tell you to be descriptive in your variable naming because it helps someone that's coming behind you understand what you were doing or what you were thinking. And it also helps you to remember because sometimes you write code and you may not come back to it for a long period of time. And you need to understand what was my thinking when I wrote this. So good naming conventions is very important. Okay, so here, back to the curriculum, we have these identifier types, packages, which is allow all lowercase. That's the convention. They should all be lowercase. Here's the example. A class starts with the uppercase letter like this, scanner, system, cello or cello. Those are all classes. They start with the first letter capitalized. So if it has the first letter capitalized, that means that's Pascal case because every letter after that will be capitalized as well. So, but here on a method starts with a lowercase letter like this, and then the next word is capitalized. We call that camel case to represent multiple word methods names. Instance variables start with a lowercase letter and use camel case. That's the same thing. Constants, all uppercase letters, words separated by underscores, max in. Well, pay attention to that word constant. Remember when I was showing you how to set up your environment variable in another section, earlier section for on your Windows machine so that you can find your Java home. It was all capital letters with that underscore. We call that an environment variable. Your environment variables are constants. So remember that, okay? Give you a little hint. Also here, note, constants in Java are variables created using both static and final modifiers. This is something we're going to go over. For example, static final double pi is assigned to 3.14159. That means when it's final, it doesn't change. That's what constants are. Constants, you can't change constants. Tip. If you're not sure about all of these identifier types yet, that's okay. Keep this page in mind for future references as you read through this book. So make sure you go ahead and bookmark this and label it so you can know how to find it. Organization is very key for being a developer. And it says, Oracle, the company that develops the Java language, provides some more detailed naming conventions. From the date on this article, you'll note that these have been relatively standard for a very long time. So let's go there. All right, here's the naming conventions. One thing I want to make sure you understand. You want to follow the documentation from the source. Like in JavaScript, it's ECMAScript. That is the foundation. Everything else uses ECMAScript to write our curriculums. Again, our curriculum is high level. It's not exhaustive. The documentation from the companies that standardize all of this stuff and create this, they have many people contributing to this documentation. They got developers writing this code so they better understand what it is that the software is doing or the language is doing. So always depend on the documentation coming from the source. You use our information to help get you there, but the documentation is the holy grail of all programming languages. So know where the source is so you can also have information and reference that as well, because the documentation is going to go a lot further and give you a lot more information and examples than our curriculum or any tutorial that you watch. You're only getting limited information. So we introduce this information to you so that you have it in your tool chest. So add these documentations to your tool chest so you can reference them later. Okay, now we've made it to the end of this chapter. And we've got what you've done in this chapter is you set up your environment, you got your machine working, able to install your IntelliJ, got it connected to your GitHub. You're ready to start programming. And I hope you're excited, because we are excited here to teach it to you. Continue to work at this. Continue to believe in yourself. And yes, it's going to be some hard days. It's going to be some times where you're going to want to quit and give up. But don't. Keep pressing forward. Also, again, if you are new to this channel and you're not in the LC 101 or Launch Code program or cohorts, they offer this curriculum for free. I'll leave a link in the description, and you should be able to find it in all the descriptions. So you can go ahead and download the curriculum and follow along and do the exercises yourself. Okay, remember, the more you practice, the more you improve. See you in the next chapter.